Aita for walking out after a boss tried to refuse to accept my resignation. I had a boss who was a real turd. He labored under the delusion he was an excellent boss and cold and put together, that his behavior and the crappy pay was why he had such a hard time keeping employees. He also thought it was acceptable to call his female employees hun, sweetie, and sugar. He was a condescending asswipe who consistently passed over more qualified women for promotions in favor of promoting less qualified men. I had to stay until I could find a better job because I enjoy eating and couldn't afford to leave unless I had something else. I got an interview with a competitor who hired me on making more than I made with him. I turned in my 2 weeks and he said, "Oh sweetie, you know you can't leave." I said, "I absolutely am leaving." He got the smuggest look on his face and said, "Well, I'm not accepting this. Sugar, guess you're here to stay." I got so furious and decided that was it. I said, "Well, screw this then." I quit effective immediately, called my new job, explained what happened in front of him as he sat there slack-jawed and agreed. Start the next day I packed my stuff and left. A former coworker said it was an asshole thing for me to just up and quit on the spot, but if he refused to accept the resignation he could easily have tried to screw me over. When my last day did come, my new boss says he deserved it and I'm not the asshole for quitting like I did. My boyfriend says he can see how other employees might feel like I was an asshole by making them cover my absence, but sees how I'm not the asshole for walking out of that toxic environment. So just because I'm curious, I thought I'd ask here. Aita, NTA, the way your former boss responded to your giving notice made my skin crawl. You were right not to accept his condescension and harassment. Go enjoy your new, better job. Is there an hour department at your old job? I'd report his behavior in a heartbeat. Sounds to me like boss at the old job is the owner. NTA, he can't refuse your resignation. Apparently he can refuse it. He just can't stop her from leaving anyway. NTA, resigning is not asking permission to leave. It's letting them know that you're leaving and what day you will stop turning up. Barring the military and certain other rare exceptions, you can walk out anytime you want, whether he chooses to accept it or not. The only time I knew of a boss refusing a resignation was a place I worked where the teenage son of a woman who had worked there for years and had got him a temporary job over Christmas was caught stealing. She handed in her resignation the next day and the boss told her he wasn't accepting it. No one blamed her or thought any less of her. It was just a stupid teenage thing. She stayed and happily stayed 4 years after. NTA, 2 weeks notice is a courtesy that your former boss did not deserve and that her former boss declined. Factual. She gave 2 weeks, the 2 weeks were declined, so then it was 0 notice. NTA. Info, what was his plan? Like, he would say no and you would tell the other job, "Sorry, I'm stuck here." Apostrophe. You're 100% NTA, but damn, I'm curious. Probably a manipulation tactic to make the person stay at the job. Good thing op quit. Probably a manipulation tactic to make the person stay. I know someone who does this and is genuinely surprised when it doesn't work. I've talked with this person about it and the answer is surprisingly blunt. I'm the smartest person in the room, so I expect people to follow my lead. It is in their best interests to do so because I understand what is best for them even more than they do. And if I'm not acting in their best interests, then I'm acting in my best interests. And since I'm also the most important person in the room, they need to follow my lead on that too. Apostrophe. Some people just have ego and are shameless. I would note that, just as in Op's story, this doesn't work out very well. NTA, you did what you were supposed to do. You gave him notice and he refused to accept it. Were you supposed to continue working there because he said you couldn't quit? Everyone who is saying it is delusional. Congrats on your new position. You're NTA at all. You tried to do the right thing. He didn't accept it, called you condescending names, and tried to deny your autonomy. Sleep well knowing you're away from this monster. You did the best thing you could considering the circumstances. NTA. That's not just disrespectful on his part. That's also sexual harassment. Then him telling you, since he won't accept it you can't leave, is horribly creepy as well. Well, him not accepting this. Sugar. Guess you're here to stay. Employees hate this one trick. NTA. NTA. I would have done the same thing. And side note, I hate men who talk to me like that. NTA to me. You tried to do it the right way, and he was a jerk about it. So, you did what you had to do. NTA. He can't refuse resignation and you attempted to give proper notice. He made the wrong decision. NTA. Your boss was out of line. First by calling you those kind of names, but also because he tried to manipulate you by saying he won't accept your resignation. He doesn't get to refuse your resignation and he hoped he could say it and you won't know that and he could force you into staying. NTA. I've been working for 20 plus years in a corporate type job. 2 weeks is a courtesy that we as employees give to our employer. Make no mistake, many employers can give us exactly 0 notice when they separate us from the company. You are not beholden to treat them better than they treat you. Since this person didn't treat you that well, you are 100% in the right. Congratulations on the new position. NTA. You're not the property of the company. This guy was completely undeserving of respect, since he clearly unwilling to give any. Staying the full 2 weeks after notice would have just given him more time to either try to convince you to stay, find a way to force you to stay, if there was some way he could get away with it, or to make your last 2 weeks a waking nightmare. NTA. You tried to quit nicely. He was a dick so you left. You had every right. Your former co-workers might have paid for it by having to pick up your load and may have got the brunt of his ire, but that's not on you. You're 100% NTA. NTA. He declined your 2-week notice, so you didn't use it. Coworker should be mad at him. Added, if you had an hours and you'd like to leave feedback about your boss, call and ask if they'd want an exit interview. NTA. The blame for this situation falls squarely on your boss. If he had responded in a reasonable manner, the company would have gotten the 2 weeks that are typically given as a courtesy. NTA. He's clearly a total jerk and asshole. Your former coworker isn't much better if they are aware of his behavior, and if they are not aware of it, then they are not paying attention. Good luck in your new position. NTA. The 13th Amendment is a thing that exists. NTA. You tried to do things the right way, but your boss was a real asshole. Good for you. I hope you have a much better time with your new employer. NTA. He was straight up harassing you. You had all rights to leave like that. NTA. How exactly he thought he was going to enforce you not leaving is both arrogant and creepy. Did he intend to chain you to your desk? NTA. 2 weeks notice is a generally accepted courtesy, not a requirement. By being a creep and a jerk, your former boss lost the privilege to that courtesy. NTA. Barring a contract, you're free to leave when you want. It sucks for your coworkers, but you need to worry about you, not them. I don't think you need us to tell you you're NTA with a boss like that. NTA. You offered 2 weeks notice. He declined it, so you left immediately. Your former boss sounds toxic, and you aren't an asshole for declining to play his weird power trip game. Your coworkers are going to blame you and claim you're the asshole for leaving, because they still fall into the boss power trap. They can't blame him, so they are going to blame the person in the situation who can't punish them. You can sympathize with them, even offer an apology if you want to maintain a good relationship with them, but I don't think you should carry the guilt of it with you. Dude, why post this? All this subbies is looking for sympathy. My friend beat the shit out of me and broke my legs. I called him a maniator ducking. Christ, the only good thing about this sub is it's here for people to laugh at. Erg, sugar is only acceptable from a Cajun hunk from the bayou in a Tammy Ho novel. NTA. I say this every time under any Aita about how you act with your boss. You owe your company and your boss nothing but the work they pay you for. You do not owe them courtesy. You do not owe them positivity. You do not owe them making their life easier. If you choose to give them 2 weeks notice, do it for yourself, so you can tell a future employer you tried to be nice. But you don't owe an employer a singed goddamned thing above from what you promised them in writing when you became their employee. Anything above and beyond that is courtesy and can be rescinded immediately if courtesy is not reciprocated. Any one fellow worker at your old job who is too much of a mark to not understand that deserves your sympathy but nothing else. Do not ever think that allowing yourself to be exploited is somehow good for your fellow workers. It is not. You are very obviously NTA. These easy peasy Aita posts are so fake sounding. NTA. He sounds like a pig. NTA. If you were getting fired or laid off, he wouldn't have given you 2 weeks notice. 2 weeks notice is a courtesy for people you respect. NTA. Tell your idiot former coworkers to direct their anger at their idiot boss. If he would have simple not dicked around with your resignation, they wouldn't be up a creek right now. NTA for the patronizing pet names alone. Your former boss sounds gross, and you owe him nothing. Yes, it sucks for the people left to pick up the slack, but your former boss is to blame for that. Your last 2 weeks probably would have been hell. Definitely NTA. I was 16 over 17 working for a woman in a very small town who wasn't paying me my full wage. When I found out what had happened, I walked in, asked for it to all be paid as I'm legally entitled to it. She refused and I brought it to the employment agency I was hired through. They paid half my wage. They not only refused to work with her again, they also brought court papers on my behalf, and she paid the $300-500 I was shorted. I quit after she refused to pay what was owed. Almost a year later she went bankrupt because people found out what happened and stopped going there. Don't feel bad that your boss was an asshole who was also very clearly a misogynistic dickhead. Former coworkers only saying that cause they prob have to pick up the work. That being said, I would done the exact same thing. Duck that guy. NTA. I guess we are not even trying to make the made up stories on this sub look believable anymore. Huh. You wouldn't be if this wasn't fake. Fuck. Yes sir. This sub is no fun when people post things where they are so obviously NTA. Exclamation mark. Boo. Exclamation mark. Are you seriously asking this? As if everyone on Reddit wouldn't side with the hardworking, career-oriented woman over the smug, sexist boss. Aita. NTA. Your previous boss sounds horrible, and you're lucky to be rid of him. Aita. Then everyone clapped as you walked out of the building. That boss, Albert Einstein. Jim a break. NTA. Did your boss forget that slavery is a no-no nowadays? That's hilarious. He thinks he can say no to someone leaving. Like lol, does he think he owns y'all? Question mark? Exclamation mark. NTA, please report him anyway. Please. Save others. You're NTA at all, and I support you doing that. However, how much more satisfying would it have been if you had given him 2 weeks and he had rejected it, then spent the next 2 weeks thinking everything was back to normal, that he walks in on the Monday of the 3rd week and finds you missing and your desk cleaned out, head hit the damn roof. Exclamation mark. NTA. Your boyfriend is right. They're probably just mad they have to cover you up. Honestly, probably because they have to stay with the swipe. Edit. Typo. A former coworker said it was an asshole thing for me to just up and quit on the spot. Your former coworker probably saw a bigger workload when you left, and instead of blaming who they should, your old boss, they blame you for it. Your old coworker is a dunce. NTA. But you knew that before posting this. Okay, why would you think you are? Aita for making an obviously justifiable decision and milking it for karma on Reddit. NTA. Your old boss is the asshole. You're not a slave that has to do as they're told or put up with the sexist comments and behavior. You attempted to give a courteous 2 weeks notice, but it wasn't accepted. You are free to quit at will for most jobs. Some finance jobs actually require longer notices. Fuck that guy. You don't owe a company any notices. They won't give you a 2 weeks notice on getting fired. The 2 weeks notice is a fossil policy that gives bad bosses the opportunity to mess with your future. They wouldn't give you 2 weeks if they plan to fire you. They'll do it on a Friday after your shift is almost over and change the code as you walk out. Good on you taking charge. The call right in front of him was music. NTA. There really is no such thing as refusing to accept a resignation in general. save for specific contract types used in a few industries like the entertainment industry, or legally binding jobs like the military. In most of the US workforce, all employment is based on standard work agreements, where either party can end the employment at any time. And in most adult states, this means it doesn't even have to be in your employment contract. Point is, if he refuses to accept a resignation, he is way out of line legally, and from a business standpoint, is astoundingly stupid, because that leaves him only two options: fire you when you stop showing up, which opens them up civilly and may entitle you to benefits like severance and maybe a civil suit for a smear on your resume as having been fired, or continue to pay you as an employee for nothing. Concepts of loyalty from employees in business are bullshit. They wouldn't hesitate to lay off the most loyal people the second the ledger goes red. It's only business. You don't owe them any more than your labor, and you have a fundamental right to revoke it anytime you like. A former coworker drone said it was an asshole thing for me to just up and quit on the spot. Of course you are, NTA. Seems like your previous job was full of us and delusional people. Aita for even posting this. NTA. It's your manager's responsibility to have your shifts covered when you can't come in due to sickness or termination/end of employment. It's also your manager's responsibility to accept your 2-week notice and not sexually harass you. You are never responsible for coworkers' workload assigned to you after you leave given proper notice. Given the circumstances, immediate was proper. NTA. NTA. The ending on what your boss said about your resignation had my skin crawling. NTA. You offered a 2-week notice and he refused to accept it. You had no choice. I'm sure your co-workers are upset, and they have the right to be, but it should be directed at the Bud Munch boss. NTA. You could not be more NTA. Congratulations on your new job, and tell the person who called your behavior wrong that they are the person in the wrong. NTA. What did he think you were gonna do when he said you couldn't leave? Smile and agree. The guy sounds like an idiot. NTA. If the boss is a dick, he's a dick. However, if you like any of your coworkers, it might be nice of you, but not required to take 5 minutes to just jot down what all you had going on so as not to make their lives any harder. NTA. You didn't cause your former coworkers to have to cover your absence. Your ex-boss caused them to have to cover your absence through his awful behavior. How old is your old boss, and by chance, are you in the South? NTA. Your former boss is sexist. I'm currently going through this. I tried to quit today because my boss is expecting me to be the entire post-production team for a TV show when all I signed up to do was the editing. I'm now responsible for managing the footage, combing through hours of footage to find the best content for 5-minute segments, all editing, graphics, audio syncing/mixing, animated transitions, title sequence, literally everything. Close bracket. I called him today to tell him that it's unrealistic, and he got pissed and told me that's just the way it is and won't let me quit. BC I signed a contract. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.